By the time they left first camp, the ground still remembered the beast. Mud held the prints of the corrupted creature like bruises that hadn't faded. The shallow depression where Haligon had swallowed it was half filled with fog and rainwater, ringed with footprints that never quite dared to get too close. No one walked on that spot. They didn't talk about it either. Instead, they packed. They were quieter now. There were fewer jokes, fewer loud arguments. Even Vero's voice had lost a layer of swagger. His commands came shorter, harder, like he was afraid if he relaxed even a little, the mountain would notice and change its mind about letting them live. "Lighten the carts," he ordered. "We're down one already. Essentials only. Food, cores, tools, and anything that keeps you breathing. If it only keeps you comfortable, it stays." Porters shifted nervously. Crates were opened, contents argued over, then repacked or abandoned. A coil of rope stayed. A small barrel of coffee did not. A bundle of thick blankets was cut in half. No one complained much. The memory of last night still stepped on their sentences. Adu shouldered his strap in silence. His shoulders still ached from where he'd hit the ground. His back was smeared with old mud. His palms were raw. Every muscle in his body hummed with tiredness. But underneath all of that, something else hummed too. A dull, persistent pressure behind his ribs. "Climb." He tried to ignore it. "Hey," Jay said, appearing at his side with his own strap and a forced grin. "Good news. They decided I'm still useful enough to throw at the higher parts of the mountain." "That's one way to describe a promotion," Adu said. Jay snorted. "If we die, at least we won't have to listen to Vero's voice anymore." Vero, a few strides ahead, snapped at a climber for sloppy knot work. "If one of these carts tips and the spine crack, you'll be pushing it back up yourself." "What's the spine crack?" Jay asked under his breath. Adu adjusted his grip. An old landslide corridor. 2 stone walls, 1 narrow trail, bit of sky. "You'd like it. Very scenic." That sounded like a threat, Jay muttered. They left first camp as the fog thinned just enough to show a strip of pale sky overhead. Not blue, not entirely, just less gray. The kind of light that made you think of mornings but never quite reached warmth. The path toward Marker 2 angled upward, then curved along the flank of Haligon in a slow arc. Trees grew denser here, their roots like ribs holding the slope together. Old scars of rockfall streaked the earth, bare and raw in some places, moss-covered in others. Haligon's spine, Adu thought, showing through. He didn't like how often he caught himself thinking of the mountain as a person now. Like Lola, like the climbers, like the old stories always did. Peaks aren't gods, he reminded himself. They're just big. The pulse in his chest disagreed. They walked. The air changed gradually as they climbed. It got thinner, colder, and quieter in a way that wasn't just the lack of bird calls. It was as if sound itself didn't want to travel too far here. "Feels like being shushed," Jay whispered, as if the mountain might hear. They passed small signs of other caravans. A broken strap, a rusted nail, a splintered bit of cart rail half swallowed by undergrowth. Adu caught the faint scorch mark of an old gem discharge on a trunk and wondered if that fight had gone better or worse than theirs. Lola's voice echoed in his memory. "Peaks remember. That's what makes them dangerous. They don't forget how people bleed." He pushed the thought away. Hours blurred. They stopped twice for short rests. No one sat long. Vero's eyes kept flicking toward the fog-filled distance, calculations running behind his brow. He didn't say it, but the message was clear. They were behind schedule. Dominion didn't care about schedules. Haligon might, and that thought made the air feel thinner. "Where does the spine crack start?" Jay asked. "Past that bend," one of the senior porters said, pointing ahead. "You'll know you're there when the sky disappears for a while." "That sounds comforting." "It isn't," the porter said. It wasn't. The trail narrowed between 2 bulging stone outcrops, then slipped into a corridor carved by an old landslide decades ago. Maybe longer. The rock walls rose up on either side, sheer and close, damp with seeping water. Vines clung to them in straggling lines. Above, only a jagged slit of sky remained, fog pooling like smoke trapped against the ceiling. "The spine crack." "Single file," Vero ordered. "Stay on the marked path. Walls are unstable. You scratch them, they scratch back. And if you hear rocks above you, you run forward, not back." "Got it. Forward?" one of the junior climbers said weakly. "Toward the falling rocks." "Rocks don't aim," Vero said. "Some of the things behind you do. Move." They obeyed. The carts scraped their wheels along the narrower turns, wood complaining. The sound bounced back off the rock walls, strange and layered, as if other carts were moving just out of sight in other years. Adu's chest felt tight. Fog behaved oddly here. It didn't just settle. It flowed, up the walls, down from unseen ledges, pooling around ankles before stretching itself thin like someone pulling dough. He watched it climb a crack in the stone and vanish. "Hey," Jay whispered. "You feel that?" "What?" "The watching." Adu did. It wasn't like the Talnugan, whose attention felt sharp and weighing. This was broader, older, less focused on skin, more on bones. Haligon was paying attention. He shouldn't have been surprised. They were walking a scar across her flank. "Don't look up," the senior porter warned quietly. "First time always makes people dizzy." So of course Jay looked up. "Okay," he said a moment later, a little breathless. "I see what you mean." The slit of sky overhead felt too far and too close at the same time. The rock seemed to lean inward when you stared at it too long, as if considering whether to finish collapsing. They were halfway through the spine crack when the ground shivered. Not much, not like the deep rumble of last night. Just a short, sharp shake, enough to knock a stone loose from somewhere above. It hit the ground near the lead cart with a crack. Everyone froze. "Could be nothing," one climber said. "On Haligon," Jay whispered, "nothing is never nothing." The second tremor wasn't shy. It rolled through the corridor like a wave, making the cart wheels jump, the ropes creak, dust falling in thin streams from the rock walls. "Keep moving," Vero barked. "We're exposed here." Just. The third impact came from above. Not a tremor. A step. A shadow passed across the slit of sky, huge and heavy, briefly blocking what little light filtered down. The spine crack went dim. Silence fell so suddenly that even breathing sounded loud. Then they heard it. Hoofsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Pacing above them. Out of sight. As if something was walking along the lip of the rocks, matching their speed. "Ramo," a porter whispered, hope making the word a question. Adu shook his head before he even meant to. No. How did he know? Because his chest had started to hurt. Because the pressure behind his ribs had gone from a dull ache to something closer to a hand closing into a fist. Because Lola's stories didn't say Ramo watched from above. They said other things did. The hoofsteps stopped. Dust trickled down in a thin line from the ridge ahead. Vero lifted a hand. Hold. The caravan ground to a halt. The carts creaked. Someone's buckle clinked. Somewhere far away, a bird called once and then decided it had better places to be. Adu lifted his gaze. Fog clung to the upper edges of the spine crack, hiding the top in a white smear. But through that, just barely, he saw a shape. Thick shoulders. Short, heavy horns that curved forward like weapons meant for puncturing armor, not just dirt. A massive neck. A squat, solid head. A silhouette. The Tamara stood above them. For a moment, it simply watched. Its breath steamed in the cold air, vapor spilling over the ridge and drifting down like a second fog. Jay swore under his breath. No. Why is that here? They don't come this low. One of the climbers half argued, half prayed. The Tamara's hoof scraped rock. The sound echoed down like a blade. It stepped forward. The ridge broke under its weight with terrifying ease. Stones and dirt tumbled down the slope. The creature dropped with them. The ground jumped as it landed directly in front of the caravan. The spine crack that had felt narrow before now felt like a trap. The Tamara filled the path. Up close, it was worse. Its fur was so dark it almost seemed to drink the light from the gem lanterns. Silver streaks rippled along its flanks like veins of ore. Its horns were thick, ridged, each the length of Adu's arm, edges dulled only by use, not time. Its eyes glowed a steady, unreadable gold. Adu forgot to breathe. This wasn't a corrupted beast twisted by Dominion's hunger. This was clean power. Wild and old and uninterested in human excuses. Back it up, Vero rasped. His voice had dropped several degrees closer to fear. Slow. No sudden. Behind them, the ground rumbled. They glanced back. A slab of rock had shifted, sliding down from the opposite ridge behind the last cart. Not enough to crush them. Just enough to block most of the path back. The Tamara huffed, steam curling from its nostrils. They were trapped. Shields. Vero snapped. Front line, form up. Keep it from hitting the carts. Climbers scrambled, boots slipping on loose stones. Shields came up in a shaky wall. Their formation wasn't pretty, but it was something. The Tamara watched. It lowered its head. It charged. The world turned into hoofbeats and thunder. The wall of shields buckled on impact. Half the climbers went flying. The others were shoved back, boots carving grooves in the dirt. One shield shattered outright, its bearer tumbling to the side with a choked cry. The Tamara wasn't trying to kill them yet. It could have. It was testing them. "Hold," Vero shouted, somehow still on his feet. "Hold, damn you. It wants the carts. Keep it off the carts." Adu shoved Jay behind a rock outcrop, heart thudding so loud he could barely hear. Jay grabbed his arm. "We're dead. We're actually dead. Not if the mountain wants something." Adu didn't know why he said it. The words just fell out. The Tamara exhaled hard, breath flaring white around the horns. It stomped once, setting its weight, then rammed the line again. Climbers braced. The horns drove into shields like spears. There was the sharp crack of wood, the dull thud of bodies, someone yelling as they were flung backward. Vero darted to the side, slashing at its flank with his blade. The steel bit fur and skin, left a shallow cut that bled dark and slow. The Tamara didn't even flinch. It turned its head, more annoyed than hurt, and flicked its horn. Vero flew. He hit the rock wall with a nasty sound and slid down, breath knocked out of him. "Vero!" Jay shouted. The Tamara's gaze swept the line of humans. It saw fear. It saw courage. It saw carts and ropes and gem lanterns and steel. It stepped forward again. Hooves tore divots in the path. Its bulk filled the world, a living avalanche about to roll them all flat. The youngest porters froze. They were caught near the second cart, nowhere to hide. One clung to the wheel, eyes wide. Another pressed their back to the rock, nowhere left to go. "Move!" Adu yelled. His voice disappeared under the sound of the charge. He wanted to run. Everything in his body screamed at him to run. But the pressure in his chest had gone from ache to knife. Each beat of his heart felt too loud, like the mountain was speaking through it. Climb. This wasn't climbing. This was dying. "Move!" He shouted again, legs stuck to the ground. Then the air in front of the Tamara exploded. A shockwave slammed into the corridor, ripping dust and fog away in a sudden blast. Loose stones rattled like teeth in a jar. Adu stumbled, hand flying to his face. Red gold light flared through the spine crack. The Tamara skidded, not because it wanted to, because something had hit it. A figure dropped into the space between the beast and the carts, landing in a crouch so hard the rock beneath his boots cracked. Rainbow gauntlets, glowing like embers in a forge. Lauren stood up slowly, as if he wasn't in a hurry at all. "You always find the worst places to stop, Vero," he said. Vero coughed from where he sat slumped against the wall. "You always wait for the most dramatic moment, Lauren." Lauren flexed his fingers. The gem cores in his gauntlets pulsed in answer, red gold light traveling through etched lines of metal into his arms. Power hummed around him, buzzing the air. He rolled his shoulders once. Then he rushed the Tamara. There was nothing elegant about the way Lauren fought. Rainbow gems were not about elegance. He met the Guardian head-on, fist slamming into the thick muscle at the base of its neck. The impact boomed, a concussive blast of air and light that sent shockwaves rippling up the rock walls. The Tamara's head snapped to the side. It shook it off. Lauren punched again. Left, right, a short uppercut into the chest. Each hit carried the weight of a crashing tree. The beast's hooves dug trenches into the ground as it was forced back half a step, then another. The porters scattered, finally unstuck by the sight of something bigger than their fear. Jay stared, jaw hanging. That's what a full gem sink looks like. Adu couldn't look away. This was power. Human-forged, beast-bound. The kind of thing the posters at the Ascent Company office back in the lowlands bragged about. Gem solutions for peak problems. But the Tamara wasn't a problem. It was a fact. It snorted, shaking its massive head. Gold eyes narrowed. Lauren lunged again, gauntlets blazing. The Tamara met him. It twisted its weight in a way that didn't look possible for something that massive, swinging its horn up instead of forward. The thick curve caught Lauren under the ribs, sliding up just enough to throw him. He flew sideways, smashed into the rock wall, and only stayed conscious because the gem sink kept his body reinforced. He slid down, boots scraping stone. The rainbow gems in his gauntlets flickered. The Tamara stamped its hoof. Dust dropped from above. "Stay down," One of Lauren's own climbers shouted. Lauren spat blood. You stay down. I'm working. He pushed off the wall and surged forward again. The ground cracked under his heel as he launched himself. He drove his fist into the Tamaraw's shoulder. The gem responded, red gold light bursting outward. The Guardian staggered, actually staggered this time, its foreleg buckling slightly. A cheer rose from one of the junior climbers and died halfway. The Tamaraw swung its head. Its horn caught Lauren's left gauntlet midguard. The Ramo gem screamed. It was a sound no human throat could make, too high and too low at the same time, vibrating inside bone more than in ears. The red gold crystal in the gauntlet flared too bright, then fractured along a jagged line. Lauren grunted, dropping to one knee. A spider web of cracks crept across the gem, light leaking out in thin, desperate lines. Shit, he hissed. The Tamaraw exhaled slowly, almost disdainfully. It stepped closer. The corridor felt too small for both of them. Lauren, Vero shouted. Fall back. Wheel. Well, what? Lauren snapped, eyes never leaving the beast. Throw harsh language at it. He pushed himself back to his feet, favoring the gauntlet with the unbroken gem. The Tamaraw regarded him for a long heartbeat. Then it moved. This time, there was no testing, no half-strength probe. It committed. It charged at Lauren alone. The air changed around it. Fog fled. Dust spiraled. Every hoof fall landed with terrifying precision, each step placed not for drama, but for efficiency. Lauren braced. He swung as it closed in, fist connecting with the side of its face in a blow that would have shattered a boulder. The Tamaraw's head snapped aside, but its horn still came through. It hooked under his chest and tossed him upward like a rag torn from a sack. Lauren hit the ground hard. His remaining gem flared and sputtered, then dimmed to an angry, fading ember. The light along the etch lines faded with it. He tried to stand and couldn't. Lauren, Vero struggled to rise, one arm hanging useless, face pale. Get up. The Tamaraw lowered its head. One more charge. One more step. He wouldn't get up in time. The front line of climbers was broken, scattered. Porters were huddled behind rocks, carts, each other. Jay grabbed Adu's arm so tightly it hurt. Don't, Jay said. Adu's chest was going to split. The pressure wasn't just an ache now. It was a roar in his veins. Each heartbeat carried a word that wasn't a word, a pressure that wasn't quite sound. Climb. Fog pressed against his skin, curling toward him like it wanted inside. His breath came short. His vision blurred at the edges. The air smelled like rock dust and sweat and old rain. The Tamaraw took a step toward Lauren's fallen form. The mountain's pulse hammered in Adu's skull. Climb. Adu moved. Later, he wouldn't remember deciding to. His feet pushed off the ground, mud and grit under his soles. Jay shouted something behind him. Vero screamed his name. Someone reached for him and missed. He stepped between the Tamaraw and Lauren. He was very small. The Guardian was very big. Up close, its horns seemed even thicker, the ridges worn smooth near the tips. Its fur smelled like wet stone and wild grass, and something older he had no words for. Its breath washed over him in hot, damp pulses. He looked up into its eyes. They were not cruel. They were not kind. They were weighing. His legs trembled. Stop, Adu said. His voice came out thin and hoarse. The Tamaraw's hoof came down. The ground shook. Stop, Adu said again louder. The pressure in his chest peaked. For a moment, everything else fell away. No climbers. No carts. No fog. No bruises. No cuts. No cracked gems or broken horns. Just Adu, and the mountain, and the thing standing in front of him that belonged more to the second than the first. Climb. The word was no longer a suggestion. It was a demand. He could feel it in his teeth. Something inside him snapped, not like something breaking, but like something untying a knot it had been trapped in for years. Cyan light flickered at the edges of his vision. He exhaled, and the air fogged differently. It didn't just leave his lungs, it carried light with it, a faint, pale blue that rippled in front of him for a second before the real fog swallowed it. The Tamaraw's eyes widened a fraction. It stopped, hoof frozen mid-step. The world held its breath. Fog poured toward Adu's feet like water drawn to a drain. It spiraled around his ankles, up his calves, hugging his knees. The cold soaked through his skin and into his bones. It should have made him shiver. Instead, he felt clear. His vision sharpened. He could see every line on the Tamaraw's horns, every clump in its fur, the way its muscles tensed and settled, the tiny twitch in the corner of its eye. He could feel the stone under its hooves, the way the spine crack curved and leaned, how the weight of the beast pressed into the mountain and how the mountain pushed back. He felt Lauren on the ground behind him, chest still rising, faint groan in his throat. He felt Jay's terror like a buzzing heat at his back. He felt the mountain. Haligon didn't speak in words. Haligon spoke in pressure and direction and weight. Now, that weight shifted. Not away from him. Onto him. Climb. It wasn't a request. It was staking a claim. Adu dropped to one knee, gasping. The cyan light around him flared for an instant, bright enough that several people cried out and covered their eyes. The fog around his body turned luminous, as if every droplet had caught a piece of the sky. He pressed his palm into the dirt without thinking. Cold flooded his fingers. Images slammed into his skull. Rock, root, water travel paths. Old scars where landslides had torn the mountain's skin. Threads of something deeper, darker, chained and angry, straining far below. Dominion. He recoiled from that instinctively, and felt something else brace against it. Haligon. Steady. Massive. Immovable. Adu's breath came in short, raw pulls. The Tamaraw lowered its head. Not to gore him. The tip of one horn stopped an arm's length from his chest. It snorted, hot breath blasting his face. Gold eyes burned into his. For a heartbeat, he saw something behind his own reflection in them. A path. Narrow. Steep. Lined with stones carved with the same symbol from the first marker. A circle split by a jagged line. His trial. His choice. You've got the wrong person, Adu whispered, voice shaking. I'm just. The mountain pushed. Cyan light surged from under his palm into the ground, a thin line that raced outwards in a spiderweb pattern. It reached the Tamaraw's hooves and climbed. The beast shuddered, not in pain, in recognition. The faintest hint of cyan flickered along the ridges of its horns, mixing with the gold in its eyes. Around them, no one moved. Jay's mouth hung open. Vero's hand, halfway to reaching for his sword, had frozen midair. Lauren lay on his back, staring with wide eyes, breath coming in short, disbelieving bursts. The Tamaraw exhaled. The sound was low, vibrating, almost like a wordless hum. Then it stepped back, just one step. It tilted its head, as if marking Adu not as prey, not as threat, but as something else, something to be tested. The pressure in Adu's chest shifted, no longer pressing down, but pulling up. Climb. His fingers curled into the dirt. He understood. A direction, a warning, a promise. If he took the path the mountain was opening, there would be no going back to simple portering and harvests and leech-bitten ankles. If he refused, he wasn't sure refusing was an option anymore. The Tamaraw snorted again and turned. With a powerful push of its hind legs, it leapt up onto a narrow ledge along the spine crack's wall, hooves finding impossible purchase on the ragged rock. Stones crumbled under it, but it climbed anyway, as if gravity had decided it was a suggestion, not a rule. Fog surged to meet it, wrapping its bulk in swirling gray. Within moments, it was a silhouette again. Then that silhouette was gone. The spine crack felt strangely larger without it, even though nothing had physically changed. Adu collapsed to both knees, chest heaving. The cyan light sank back into the ground, leaving only the usual, ordinary fog. Ordinary. He almost laughed at the word. Jay was the first to move. He stumbled forward, grabbed Adu by both shoulders, and shook him. What the hell was that? Jay's voice cracked halfway through the sentence. What did you just do? Why did it listen to you? Why did you glow? What? Adu winced. Ow. Head. Too loud. Jay stopped shaking but didn't let go. Vero pushed himself upright with a groan and limped closer, one arm wrapped around his ribs. He spoke, he said slowly, eyes narrow, and the guardian listened. That's not supposed to happen, one of the climbers whispered. No, Lauren rasped. He had managed to sit up. Sweat plastered his hair to his forehead. The cracked Ramo gem in his left gauntlet had gone completely dark now, its once vibrant color dulled to ash. Lauren stared at Adu like he'd just sprouted a second head. That, he said, is absolutely not supposed to happen. Adu tried to stand and nearly face-planted. Jay caught him under one arm. Together, they got him to his feet. The world felt thinner, like he'd stepped through something and left part of himself on the other side. He wiped at his eyes. His fingers came away wet. He wasn't sure when he'd started crying. "I didn't do anything," he said weakly. "I just told it to stop." "Yeah," Jay said hoarsely. "You and the mountain." Vero looked from Adu to the place the Tamara had vanished, to the cracked gem in Lauren's gauntlet. He swallowed, throat working. "What does this mean?" one of the porters asked in a small voice. Vero answered without taking his eyes off Adu. "It means," he said slowly, "that Haligon just chose someone." Lauren's jaw tightened. "Chosen." The word hung in the air like a new kind of fog. Adu shook his head. No, I carry things. That's all. I'm not." "The Tamara doesn't bow its head for carriers," Lauren said. "It tests climbers. Guardians test those who step too close to the seal. You just stepped into a place most of us spend our lives trying not to stand." Adu's stomach dropped. The seal. The old stories of something buried deep. Dominion chained in the dark. The reason peaks needed climbers at all, to keep the pressure balanced, to keep the world from cracking. Lola's voice whispered in his memory. Peaks need people who answer, even if they're fools, even if they're afraid. He squeezed his eyes shut. "I didn't want this," he whispered. Haligon didn't answer. Mountains never argued. They set the path. Ahead, the spine crack continued, curving toward Marker 2 and whatever waited beyond. The air felt different now, thinner, sharper, tinged with something that felt suspiciously like expectation. Vero exhaled slowly. "Rest 5, he said, voice rough. "Then we move. We're behind enough as it is." Someone made a strangled noise. "We're just going to keep climbing after that. What else do you suggest?" Vero snapped. "Going home? Telling Central sorry. The mountain looked at us weird. We got scared. No, we move." He pointed at Adu. "You, Porter, stay near the front. If the mountain is going to start talking, I want you where I can hear it early." Adu stared at him. "I'm not. I don't know how to." "Good," Lauren said. They all looked at him. He managed to get to his feet, wincing, one hand cradling his cracked gauntlet. "Good," he repeated. "If you knew how already, you'd be more dangerous than anything else up here." He stepped closer, studying Adu with the tired, assessing gaze of someone who'd seen too many near-deaths dragged back by stubbornness. "What's your name?" he asked. "Adu." "Adu what?" He hesitated. "Just Adu, sir." Lauren nodded once. "All right, just Adu," he said. Haligon looked at you. "The Tamara didn't kill you. That means trials are coming." The word made Adu's skin crawl. "Trials?" he echoed. Jay groaned softly. "Of course there are trials. Why wouldn't there be trials?" Lauren ignored him. "You want to live?" Lauren asked Adu bluntly. "Your family, your village, everyone under this peak? Then when the mountain calls next time, you answer properly." Adu opened his mouth, closed it. He thought of his mother's hands, rough from planting. His sister's gap-toothed grin. Lola's stories by firelight. The way the old woman's fingers traced invisible shapes in the air when she talked about seals and chains and gods that had fallen asleep angry. He thought of the hole where the corrupted beast had gone. He thought of the Tamara stepping back instead of forward. He thought of the word that had been pounding behind his ribs since he touched the first marker. Climb. He hated it. He feared it. He needed it. He swallowed hard. "Fine," he whispered, the word almost lost in the lingering dust. Lauren's eyes softened a fraction. "Then welcome to the part of the mountain most people don't survive." Jay groaned louder. "Why do you people talk like that? Have you considered lying?" "Just a little." Vero snorted, wincing as the laugh pulled at bruised ribs. "If he survives, he'll laugh at this someday." "If I survive," Adu said weakly, "I'll plant rice until I'm too old to walk." No one argued. They rested. They drank water that tasted faintly of stone. They rewrapped bandages. They righted crates. Someone, somewhere, started a low, nervous joke and trailed off halfway. Above them, the slit of sky remained narrow and distant. Haligon's bulk loomed on all sides, silent and patient. The mountain had shifted a piece on the board. Adu had moved with it. The path ahead waited. So did the trials.